Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Swish City, where we're going to be diving in and looking at my power rankings for every team going into the season. If you guys have already been staying in tap, already in the nose, you guys have realized that we've already broken down an abundance of teams already. So if you missed those videos, go check them out down below. But in today's episode, as you guys can tell from the description, from the title, from the thumbnail, we're going to be going over the Los Angeles Clippers in the Western Conference. And that's right, they're going to be coming in at this slot here. We're going to be going over their additions, their subtractions, who they re signed, players that I like, players that I necessarily don't really think fit in with this organization, and overall my record prediction for the team finishing this year. Let's kind of get into it. Let's break it down, grab a snack, and let's dive into all the news. So, like I was saying in the introduction, we're going to be discussing this Clippers team. So, let's look at their additions, subtractions, and players that they re signed when looking at this team. First, let's look at the departures. Let's see what left. And as we all know, the big story around this Clippers team was Paul George. Was he going to come back? Was he going to leave? Where was he going to go? He ultimately chose Philadelphia, departing in free agency for nothing. No sign and trade, nothing back for the Clippers. They just lost out on Paul George. Now that could be a front office problem, front office dilemma, but that's another story for a different video. Paul George obviously being one of their main focal points for the last season and offensive juice punch. Losing him is definitely going to be detrimental for this team, and for how they replaced it, we'll get into in a little bit. They also did lose an abundance of backup centers. They did lose Mason Plumlee and Daniel Tice, both who were both playing behind Ivica Zubac, to the Suns and Pelicans, respectively, and also traded away Russell Westbrook in a three-team deal to the Utah Jazz, where he officially was sent back to the Jazz for the second time and was waived by the Jazz for the second time for Chris Dunn, a player who was looking for a bigger role and some more money in free agency after his nice role with Utah last season. They looked for a nice swap after Westbrook wasn't really fitting in with the backcourt with Harden last year. When also looking at additions for this Clippers team, they went out and rounded out some of the edges, bringing in some young guys, bringing in some veteran guys, with looking at some guys also that had some untapped potential. When I see Derrick Jones Jr. and Nicholas Batum, that screams veteran guys, that screams playoff ready guys, playoff ready wings, and players that they are ready to see in their system. When I see players like Mo Bamba and Kevin Porter Jr., though, I get a little bit more concerned. Kevin Porter Jr., obviously, with his dilemma last year, we don't need to get into that. I don't necessarily know how he's a contract in the NBA at this point. Mo Bamba just hasn't lived up to the hype that he was projected as a sixth overall pick in the NBA coming out of Texas, and I think could be a nice little piece to rebound and fight for our way back on this Clippers team, specifically with Plumlee and Tice both leaving. When looking at their re-signings, they did bring in James Harden on a 2-year deal, who does return even though Paul George does leave, is able to get some ample money, and Ivica Zubac, who was just extended not too long ago, just a couple of days ago with this Clippers squad, has proven to be their fantastic rim protector and interior defender, and the building center for this Clippers team ever since he was acquired from the Los Angeles Lakers. But as we all know, this Clippers team, like we said, lost some things, but necessarily didn't gain them either. If we want to look at spot track, looking at this courtesy of Keith Smith, we can see Kawhi, Harden, Norman Powell, Zubac, Tucker, Terrence Mann, who also signed an extension not too long ago, are at the top of the list for making the most money, which makes sense. But after that, it's basically veterans and young guys. I mean, Derrick Jones Jr., Nicholas Batum, Amir Coffey, all have had some run with this team. But then when you look, Chris Dunn, a player who just recently revitalized his career and bouncing back. Bones Highland, Nashawn Highland hasn't been given that much run. Kobe Brown hasn't been given that much run. Kevin Porter Jr., who's young. Cameron Christie, who's their first round pick or one of their picks this year. Mohamed Bamba, who's also a little bit in that younger age. They have a lot of unproven talent, unproven pieces. And unfortunately for the Clippers, they do run into some injuries like they've seen with Kawhi in the past or with Harden in the past. I don't know how this team is going to look once we get to the middle of the season if either one or both of those guys are out. That's where my concern is. That's where I'm, kind of questioning where this team is overall going to fill out and find out. And that's why I have them going towards the bottom of the Western Conference. I think losing Paul George, losing that third piece of scoring is definitely going to be detrimental and shown with no replacement really here for this Clippers team. They might be still solid on the defensive side, but offensively, who knows how they're going to put the ball through the basket. So let's look at this team and let's look at some players that I'm interested in and players that I think are going to look nice on the squad and also some players that I don't necessarily think are going to fit. So the first player I want to discuss when looking at players that I'm intrigued by is Mohamed Bamba. Now, like I discussed earlier, Bamba, the sixth overall pick, not too long ago, in a couple drafts ago, selected by the Magic out of the University of Texas, was supposed to be this shot blocking, rim protecting beast that was supposed to dominate paints for years and be the shot blocker that the Magic wanted to bring in. Unfortunately for Bamba, with dealing with injuries and just not really filling in with Orlando, and Orlando kind of being, a team that had been at the bottom the last couple seasons, kind of had some veterans already, and Vucevic playing center, Fournier, Aaron Gordon could never really gel in, kind of get a guaranteed start anyways, and then playing as a backup never really found his mark. Now, going and moving around the league, Bama's had some other extents other places, but never has really found a home, found a place to really shine or blossom, and I think the Clippers could be that place. I know he's behind Zubac again, who is probably the most solidified player on this team and staying healthy and, competing and having a long term job. So that might be a little bit difficult for Bamba, who's looking to kind of showcase his role, skill set, kind of guaranteed a long term future deal for him to stay in the NBA. But Bamba, if he can work on the things that he has clearly shown in the league, I think he can kind of translate and be that type of player for the Clippers. Now, as a backup big, being a perennial shot blocker, rim protector could be huge, but it's not necessarily not going to be a main focal point of this team. But who knows? If he steps up, does his job right, could earn himself some backup big minutes with this Clippers team again, or it could earn himself a backup big job somewhere elsewhere with, who knows, with the CBA and having a little bit more money on the market, could be a bit better for some of these players that are trying to find roles like that. Bamba is somebody that I'm definitely intrigued with going into this team. And another player as well that I'm intrigued with this team is talking about Chris Dunn. Now, Chris Dunn came into the league getting drafted out of Providence. Believe he was selected to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Never really blossomed over there with Tom Thibodeau. Was then traded over to Chicago in the Zach LaVine blockbuster deal involving Lauri Markkanen. And Dunn never blossomed over in Chicago either. Then Dunn was playing overseas, playing in the G League, fighting for a role back, and found one prominently in Utah, where he was used as a playmaker and very, very good defensive guard for this Utah Jazz team. I think he really complemented the players in Keontae George and Colin Sexton to a certain degree, as players like that were also known for their playmaking, but creation and usage on the offensive side of the ball. And similarly, how I've talked about in previous videos on this channel, with players like Emmanuel Quickly and Davion Mitchell, for example, I really like when the starter and the backup kind of translate different aspects of the game. And I truly think with a player in Chris Dunn, we saw that in Utah, where Keontae George and Colin Sexton were those offensive creators, were those scorers, where Dunn could be that defensive guard and that primary playmaker for this team, and truly setting them up on the defensive side, which is huge for a team in Utah. I think he can kind of bring that similarly with this Clippers squad, working alongside at James Harden, depending what type of lineup they want to run. If they want to run Harden, Dunn, um, Man, Leonard, and Zubac, then you can run them together. But if you want to run a little bit of a bigger lineup, you can have Dunn be that guard off the bench. And I think, similarly to Harden, complements those qualities that Harden doesn't present. The defensive style, the defensive pressure. Harden's better on the offensive side. I think Dunn will be able to help out on that defensive side as being a point guard as well. Well, for the last couple of these teams, there hasn't been players that I really dislike. I'm not gonna get into, the whole Kevin Porter drama scenario, because that could all be twisted and turned, and I don't want my words being thrown out there and being turned. But as you all know, Kevin Porter Jr. has been brought back to the NBA after dealing with some, personal issues outside and some legal issues outside. And regardless if he's supposed to be in the league or not supposed to be in the league, I'm not going to comment on that. That's just going to be left out. You can kind of infer from my comments already being made how I feel about him. But a player that I necessarily don't like for the team and I think should be out of the team and has expressed that they want to be out of the team is this man right here. Look at my boy PJ Tucker. Not PJ Washington, PJ Tucker. Look at my boy PJ Tucker. He is wearing a gallery department shirt. This is what you look when you look up PJ Tucker on Getty Images. This is what pops up. There's no picture of him in a uniform, no picture. He doesn't play. He's making mad money for you. Look at the contract. He's your fifth highest player on your contract at $11 million. He doesn't play. LA. This is the reason that the CBA sucks. because you have a player like PJ Washington who's making $11 million a year, and then you have a player like Markelle Fultz who can't get a contract because a team like the Clippers has a player like this on $11 million a year, or a player like Ben Simmons like the Brooklyn Nets on a $40 million contract, to where they can't give players that actually deserve contracts the right away, or players that, maybe still deserve to be in the NBA, players like Ben Simmons and PJ Tucker, but on a vet minimum deal or a $5 million deal, not an $11 million deal. It would save money, allow things to be better. Why don't we look at some changes for the buyouts and stuff like that to make it a little bit easier on the ends of contracts of some veterans to make it a little bit easier for flexibility for some of these teams? But I don't know. Anyways, sorry for my rant, sorry for my tangent. PJ Tucker, let's get back to him. Let's discuss. Just hasn't really played for the Clippers, has wanted out, has come back, has done a bunch of things, sat out. Just trade him. He wants to play. He doesn't have a role. He might have a role with this team now with PG being gone, but who really knows? He's an older veteran. He's not going to give you that much on the court. He's pretty decent on the defensive side, but offensively, he's not going to give you that much. Just, he's gotten old. He's not worth $11 million. I know that he's on a Clippers team and they want to shed some salary, but just can a team like possibly Brooklyn or a team that has some cap space like Detroit just buy on Dion? Just buy him for 1 year. Just buy on him. Send out another piece. You're not gonna have to give out much. You send out a second round pick. Bring him in. Waive him, and then just have him go to another team. Detroit, you can pay that $11 million. Just help out the rest of the league. This is what I want. Other GMs, if you see a team that's struggling with some money, and you know you can get that player, and you can waive him, just do it. Just help out the NBA, help out the guys that want to get a chance in the NBA, and help out those players that are on these big contracts, either fall out of the league that don't deserve to be sitting on these mountain of contracts just because they were deserved it 3 years ago, or they have to rework for themselves and actually showcase their skills to get another contract and maybe have a veteran minimum contract or like a $5 million deal. Anyways, sorry for my tangent. Let's go to my record prediction. Let's go over it. Like I said, in yesterday's video, we went over the Hornets. They came out at 40 and 42, and the Clippers are also going to come in at 40 and 42. I realize my math has been pretty atrocious with these record predictions, and that they're definitely not going to be correct. I mean, the Clippers finishing at 12th in this Western Conference are definitely not going to have the same record as the 10th seed, or 9th seed, excuse me, in the East. So I definitely did my math wrong, so sorry for that if you're actually looking at those record predictions and trying to gauge on that. Those are definitely going to be atrocious and terrible, but this is my first year doing it, so you know what I mean? I felt confident going in. Now I'm kind of not feeling as confident, but I'm still going to do them. But I'm telling you right now, they're going to be wonky. They're going to be weird. Some of them are going to be ties. Some of them are going to be close. Some of them aren't going to make any sense because realistically, the Clippers should have a lower ranking than the Hornets in win record, but they're not going to have a higher win record being 12 seeded. So I'm not doing that. Anyways, let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. How do you guys feel? Do you think guys the Clippers are too low, too high? Where would you rank the Los Angeles Clippers in your power rankings? Drop down your thoughts in the comments. I appreciate everybody's thoughts. Everybody tune in, and you guys have been absolutely fantastic showing your love and support over on the channel, and I really do appreciate it in revitalizing this channel. You guys have been absolutely fantastic. Check out the links in the description to get all my other NBA news as well. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a great rest of your day. Peace out, everyone.